Good evening and welcome to a joint planning and development subcommittee town council meeting. It's Thursday, May 21st, 2026 at 6:30 p.m. We're in the Rice conference room this evening. It's possible a quorum of the town council may be present to discuss the agenda items, but voting rights shall be limited to subcommittee members in attendance. The items listed which may be discussed at the meeting are those reasonably anticipated by the chair. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may also be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by law. We're being recorded by both audio and video methods. That's our call to order. Roll call. Councilor Adams. Present. Councilor Kelly is excused. Citizen member Bernadone.
Here.
Citizen member Larshall.
Here.
And I'm John Daniel. I'm the chair. I'm here as well. Item number 3. Review, discuss approval to apply to the One Stop for Growth Housing Works grant for infrastructure improvements not to exceed $5 million at Southbridge Innovation Center. Entertain a motion to recommend to town council for approval and allow the town manager to sign all related paperwork.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and welcome this evening. Happy to be here with Tyler Alton from Lundgren Equity Partners, as well as Julie Bushman from Worcester Business Development Center. We've had many conversations about what's going on down at the Southbridge Innovation Center, the park itself, and some opportunities. And we welcome Tyler here. If you want to come to the table, you're more than welcome to. Julie, if you want to come up to discuss what's happening down there. We're all familiar with some of the issues that have gone on with the current owner of that property, and it's transition now, and some major work that is needed in the infrastructure to assist to that whole park, so that we can bring economic growth and revitalize those buildings and with a new look, a fresh look. And Tyler's really here to talk about it. And if Peg has anything she wants to speak to first, that's fine. But I think this is a great opportunity. I've had many conversations with Tyler over the last year and a half about, and I've briefed the council on a lot of those issues that are going on. But it's, from my viewpoint, it's exciting to have this opportunity to move that whole area into a new, fresh look and new partnerships. This really is a fresh, brand new partnership with a group that's very much invested in bringing change there and being partners with the town. So it's been a pleasure to work with Tyler and the team, and I look forward to his presentation and the opportunities that we're looking for there. So I'll turn it over to Peg first.
Sure, and that's a great opening actually. If we want to just let Tyler go ahead and present, maybe that would be the best next step. Yeah.
So thanks for having me. Appreciate it. The team's been great. Like I said, it's been a year and a half at least since we've found ourselves in this position. And I won't bore you to death with all the details, but please stop me and ask any questions as I go through this. I won't read every word for word here. You can let me know what you have questions on. So I think my objective is to kind of introduce our company, who we are, some of our experience, our history in the park, and our request for support from the town here in this one-stop application, why that's so important for the park, and then answer any questions you guys have. We started in the same position as every other building owner in the park. We own 15 Wells Street, which I'll get into in here. It's a it's actually a 4-tenant industrial building in the park, 115,000 square feet. Used to have Stonebridge Press. They left a few years ago. They moved operations. But we have 2 great tenants in there, 3 tenants, McGovern Trucking. They kind of in the satellite building, 2 main tenants, Eagle Pitcher, which is a defense contractor, and Metalogic, which is a fabrication company. We are in, I'm not going to go fully in order here, but we're invested. We bought the building in January of 21. We've been landlords, owners of that, and we started to figure out there was something going on that was wrong in the park. Soon afterwards, in late 22, 23, we were not getting the level of information that we needed out of the park owner, Chip Norton. And so we cannot pass on CAM reconciliations, details of expenses that were park-wide, snow removal, infrastructure. We had bridge issues. So we're paying a lot of money, our tenants are paying a lot of money, where we're getting any intel back to support these charges. So we started to pick apart these layers of this onion, sewer charges that the city is still owed, a lot of utility bills that National Grid's owed. We were like, well, we're paying our share, our tenants are paying their share. Why aren't these vendors being paid for their jobs? And as we picked it apart and tried to get information, all of a sudden this bankruptcy kind of comes out, right? Where they own the current owner of the park. We're not partnered with by any means. We're in the same position as every other building owner in the park. Gentleman declares personal bankruptcy, throws all of his LLCs into now a bankruptcy trustee, and nobody is left actively managing this park. So we have an asset there with two great tenants that our number one objective at the time was, okay, well, we have to stabilize our property. We need to make sure these tenants don't leave. We have to make sure the park is well cared for, our tenants are well cared for, our building is with equity, and we have a loan on the building with Cornerstone Bank. So we started with that objective, and then that has since grown to say, well, you know, one, this is an opportunity. This is an opportunity to do something great on the business side, but it's also an opportunity to do something really good for the community. And frankly, we don't really want to lose our tenants, you know, so we have a great building there. We have two great tenants that are kind of pillars of Southbridge, I feel like, from the business community sense. And they said, listen, if we collectively can't figure this out, we're gonna have no choice but to hike up and go somewhere else. So that's in a nutshell kind of how we got to this part. But as a real estate company, we're headquartered in Auburn, Massachusetts, so we're not too far away. We are a real estate development, asset management, and acquisition platform. And then we also have a company that we work together with, internal, called Shapley Property Management, and we provide property management services to all of our portfolio. We're about 50 properties, mainly industrial, across New England, a lot centered around the greater Worcester area. We do have some office and some retail as well, but again, we are primarily focused on industrial buildings. That's what we do best. We started the company in 2020. We started our in-house management and facilities company in 24. We've used a lot of third-party vendors during that time. We just figured out that it would be better to control our own destiny with our properties. So we hired the right people, brought in the team, and our facility team is fantastic. I mean, they're down here at 15 Wells in Southbridge a few days a week, working with our tenants, figuring out exactly what we can do prior to becoming future owner of this park. If we do, what we can do right now to help stabilize the park overall. So we're very active in Southbridge for this asset. I'll give you a little bit of bio, kind of on our leadership team here. Company is owned 100% by Barry Lundgren. You guys need a Honda car or a Subaru. He would be very helpful to oblige in that front as well. Barry started his career running an automotive presence, dealership presence. We've since expanded that, so now we own over 50 commercial and industrial properties across New England. I run a lot of the point for that, from asset management, leasing, investor relationships, capital, the debt side. Scott Johnson is our director of property management. He runs the facilities team, and we have a CFO, Zach Cooper, who takes care of all the books. He's an important guy. I do have a background in public-private partnerships. I used to work with a family office in New Jersey, and I ran a big public-private partnership with the city of Riviera Beach, Florida. So I live in New York. I've always lived in New York, and I just kind of go where I need to go. And I spent 5 years working directly with the city government in a redevelopment project down there. So it was exciting. It was fun to see, something transformative in a community. So I have an experience doing that. I've worked with a lot of municipalities across the state of New Jersey in a past life as well, working in public-private partnerships. We've worked with a lot of government officials in our redevelopment plans across New England, but never in something that I think was this important that we have to do here. That involves the infrastructure and really, this truly is a public-private partnership. We're here to get support on this one-stop application, which is really great and critical for the site itself. We have a lot of infrastructure issues, which I'll dive into a little bit. But I think this is going to be like the next right step in that direction. So I broke down our capabilities kind of slide into two things, what we bring to the project and then what we've worked on so far. And I've touched upon some of those. So our history of the site, bought this building, 15 Wells, in January of 21. We work with all the lenders in the park currently across our portfolio. So we have our building as a mortgage with Cornerstone Bank. Cornerstone also has debt on the larger building, 35 Optical, I believe, it's 198,000 square feet. We work in Cornerstone is a great lender for us, as a relationship lender. I have a building with them that I personally have a piece of down in Woonsocket, Rhode Island. They probably have 3 or 4 other mortgages with us on different buildings. So they've been a really great lending partner, very easy to work with. They have an interest in the park. They have debt in the park right now. We also work with Savers Bank. Savers is a big lender in the park right now. It's pretty complex, but they have an active interest in a lot of these assets. They extend a lot of loans to other people down there. So we have a great relationship with them. Webster 5 and Excalibur is the lender on the hotel. So we have, you know, the good thing is we're in communication with all these folks. We have relationships with them. High level things, you know, we're really good at acquisitions and underwriting and everything that goes into the kind of commercial real estate world. So from a macro level perspective, you know, we bring a lot of experience to that front. You know, and we're willing and excited to work with the town. So that's, you know, we just want to make sure we're clear about that is, you know, we're happy to commit the energy and the resources, and it's going to take, you know, it's going to take some people, manpower, and time to, you know, to really dive into this thing and fix it, and we're excited to do so. We've done a lot of actions already with the park, just kind of in the process of figuring it out, and then trying to be helpful prior to us actually taking more of the ownership role there. We submitted an offer to buy all of these LLCs that basically make up all the ownership of the park from this bankruptcy trustee. So that is in the works. It's been accepted. It's an accepted offer. I sat with a bankruptcy judge a few days ago in Boston, listening to the hearing and answering questions on what they need to know from the trustee. So that whole legal process is all in the works. We've engaged all those various lenders on talking about their debt. You know, they have a lot of debt across the board here, and how are they going to restructure it? How are they going to, you know, essentially help us activate this park so their debt is worth what it's worth, right? So it's valuable. So we have ongoing daily conversations with these lenders. We met with the Massachusetts Lieutenant Governor last week, 2 weeks ago maybe, down at the hotel there. Hotel's a beautiful asset. It needs some love. It needs some revitalization. But it's a great piece of property. And so we toured the Lieutenant Governor of Massachusetts through the property. She and the economic development team on the state level are waiting for our application. This one we're here for tonight. They want to help, right? They want to be helpful. They understand the needs of the park and the infrastructure, which is really primarily the 2 bridges. Without the state funds and without fixing those bridges, there's no way safely in and out of that park. You know, kind of simple as that. The Optical Drive Bridge, which is the main entrance by the hotel, we as a building owner of the park have been told for years that that was being fixed and that was going to be repaired. And don't worry, there's engineering studies done and everything's moving forward. That none of that ever happened. And so that was one of our early findings to say, well, rats. Okay, so we got to start that process now. So we have engaged with 2 different engineering firms to pick up that ball and run with it. So, and it's a pretty lengthy process in terms of just the work they need to do. The time shouldn't be lengthy, but the deep involvement should be. They have to do bridge ratings, they have to do field studies, material studies, and so we've already started that process. We've already paid some money, and we've already gotten the Case Street Bridge, which I'll pivot to the rear bridge, the one that's actively being used now. That's also in a state of disrepair. So first and foremost, we had to go in there with the engineers to say, is it safe? Right? Can we like, there's cars going through it every day. Our tenants use it. So we got the engineers to sign off on the fact that that bridge is okay for the minute, but to reduce the load. So we've reached out to all the tenants in the park to get their truckloads and to make sure that the vehicle counts, trucks that go over, everything is going to be okay with that one for the time being. But that one needs repairs, probably a couple $100,000 repairs on that bridge. And then the Optical Drive Bridge is a full-blown bridge revitalization project, which is the cornerstone of this application. So we've kind of gathered a lot of the right people, gotten the support from the state, and then we've also thought about all these other vacant buildings, right? Let's get ahead of this a little bit. So we've engaged with data centers, life science companies, other industrial users, and that's our bread and butter, is finding industrial tenants, really. Industrial could be light manufacturing, it could be life sciences, it could be warehousing. So we've started the process of reaching out to try to find people to relocate here, either relocate or open up a facility here in the park. It's got great bones down there, but it needs infrastructure, it needs improvements, it needs capital, but it really needs bodies as well. It needs tenants in there. So we started the process on doing that. For our building itself, we are investing $4.5 million out of necessity into 15 Wells Street to retain those tenants. So in order to, the tenants are going to extend their leases by 10 years each. So we're securing 10-year commitments from those two tenants. But we have to go through a pretty significant infrastructure project specific to our own building. Can't access grant funding for that. It's a private deal, and it's one of these things where in order to get these long-term commitments from the tenants, we know we have to make an investment there. So, so thankfully we have two really good partners. Eagle Pictures, a defense contractor. They are growing at the seams. They're trying to hire new people. That's some of the business challenges that everybody faces, is finding the right talent. But they're actively trying to hire new people. We've spoken to the town here about training programs. So Eagle Pictures is going to invest in a training mechanism that allows for high school students, college, working professionals to all be kind of trained in some of the things that they do there, just to kind of get the flow of potential bodies and potential employment, moving for them. Same thing with Metalogic. They're trying to grow as well, and so they're both committed to the site, which is really good to hear. So we're doing our part in keeping them there. We've worked with all the other owners of the park. There's not, there's not a ton. 10 Cabot and 80 Optical, these two buildings are owned by a family out of Florida. We have a great relationship with them. We help them acquire the buildings, so we feel a little obligated to maintain helping them. And there's a DCAN lease, the Permanent Transitional Services, in 80 Optical. 10 Optical had a great tenant clean part, but because of the challenges in the park overall, the risk of the bridges, the utilities, and just the way the park was managed, they left. So there's definitely some upside and some good assets there that we can help revitalize. I gave a slide on the 15 Wells and 5 Wells buildings. You can kind of see where they are behind the hotel there, just for reference. And then I gave a few slides just on our kind of selected industrial tenants, just so you can get a flavor of what we have in the portfolio and the types of buildings that we own and operate. We have some great single tenants up in Vermont and New Hampshire. A lot of manufacturing companies that do all sorts of interesting work. A 2-tenant down in industrial down in Manchester, Connecticut. A few more. Our center of operations is really in like the greater Worcester area. So I highlighted a few of our industrial tenants in the Auburn, Worcester market. This one in West Springfield we acquired in January. That's a Feeney Brothers Utility Services building. So these types of buildings are very, kind of common to what we'd like to manage and buy, and there's a lot of synergy between what we have and what's going on down in the Innovation Park. We also have some retail customers as well, but West Marine just declared Chapter 11, so that's going to be a fun one to work through. But we have a retail exposure, and I don't know, and we'll see what happens down the Innovation Campus. We're going to open up those buildings to our kind of greater network, and if there's a retail component that thinks maybe we're doing something in conjunction with the hotel out there on the main thoroughfare is works for them, we would be happy to have them. We also have an office presence as well, and there are office buildings in the park. They're usually paired with some kind of industrial user, and that's again very common to what our portfolio looks like. We have redevelopment experience. We're building a retail strip center in downtown Worcester. It's a current DCU, credit union anchored retail strip on 225 Shrewsbury Street. It's got a nice coffee shop, and it has a restaurant and a bar and a Gentle Dental. And we're expanding that, building a new DCU branch, and it's about a $7 million construction project. So we work with our lenders on the construction side. We hire our local contractors, we're managing the project, so that's fencing is going up there on June 3rd. So that's an active project we're working on. We have a 54-unit condo development project in Providence. We are not residential developers, so that is not what our focus is and not our bread and butter. But we do have exposure into that. So, you know, for what it's worth, you know, there is opportunity potentially on that side as well. But again, that's most certainly not our focus. We have a 24,000 square foot industrial development down in Taunton. That's ground up development. So we're comfortable in the development space, really in the redevelopment space as well. And our philosophy is like long-term holds. We don't buy properties, renovate them, and flip them. Just doesn't fit the business model for Barry Lundgren and for our investors. I mean, out of 60 properties, I think we've sold one. So like we just, you know, I'd like to sell a few more, to be honest, but we sold one a couple months ago, and it was a small bank building. So we just our strategy really is buy, renovate if needed, bring in tenants if needed, occupy long term, hold long term. So that just fits our business model, and I think that's going to be a necessity down in Southbridge too. When we expanded this kind of outreach to some of the potential tenants or interested parties there, we've been very open about either leasing or selling. You know, I mean, we're not the owners of this property right now. We're hoping to be, and so everything is moving towards that. Our legal team is actively working on it. It's got to go through the trustee and the bankruptcy situation, the whole thing. But when we tell tenants, we said, listen, here's what we have. Here are these various buildings. If we're not going to get in your way if you want to come in and buy one of these. Our preference is you come in as a tenant, we work with you, we're the landlord, we lease it to you. But if you're interested in moving here and buying one of these assets and renovating and occupying it, that's music to our ears, right? There's more than enough square footage down there to figure out what to do with. So we're very open to be flexible with anybody that shows interest. And I told your town manager before, and what I did in my previous public-private partnership, and what I think works best is, and I don't think this was the strategy prior to us, was if we find somebody who wants to park themselves down there as a tenant or as an owner, I will just come to the city immediately to say, look, here's an opportunity we have. We need to work together anyway. We need to work with your building services, the building department. We need to work with the town in every regard. We have the tenant, here's who they are, here's the background, and they want to fit into this specific building, and we think it's a great reason for X, Y, and Z. What do you guys think? So we'll be a partner in terms of locating tenants, finding tenants. In exchange for that, we want to, have active involvement from the town as well. We'd like the town to, have a voice in that to help us, get tenants in there and activate this park. So we're most certainly going to be a very communicative partner in terms of finding people for down there. I put together a little bit more on, the relevant experience, but Jack and I, we've been trying to unravel this thing now for almost 2 years. So it's really, we've learned a lot during that process, and we're still here at the table, and and we'll continue to do so. And so it's going to take a lot of partnership, I think, on both of our sides, the town and all the stakeholders there. So we will become the owner of the grounds. We own 15 wells. We're trying to become the owner of the hotel as well, and but there's other stakeholders there too. You have all the lenders. You have the Eller Drive folks that own 2 buildings. You have Mike Matthews and Seven Hills Foundation is there. So you have a number of other stakeholders, and they endorse what we're trying to do. They're all very supportive of this. They're all fully in the loop of everything we talked about here. They know I'm here meeting. They know we're putting in a one-stop application. They're very thankful. They hope this goes forward because we need the infrastructure improvements done. And they're very happy to help in any way they can, because for them it's somebody needs to step in and really try to fix this park. And the downside risk is detrimental to the town, to these building owners, to the lenders. So it's not that everybody's kind of on the same playing field, right? Everybody's like, okay, well, how can we help to fix this whole thing? And that's kind of in a nutshell. I mean, I could talk about this for the next 5 hours as well. Like you know, I spend almost hours and hours every day with talking about this project with all these various stakeholders that I mentioned. So it's an exciting project. It's going to be a lot of hard work. Our team is dedicated to that. We plan on growing the team to try to have somebody like on site actively doing this on a daily basis. But you know, we're not too far away. We're right up the road in Auburn. So facilities team has been on site. I think they were on site twice this week already, working with National Grid, working on the sewer infrastructure project already. So we're trying to hit the ground running, and we have been, in hopes that, you know, the grant application goes forward, and in hopes that we're in a position where we can start really making, you know, real decisions down there. I'll stop there. Please let me make questions.
And before I open it up for discussion, Julie, would you like to add anything?
No, I mean, I'm really here to kind of just to provide any information that you may have related to the One Stop. As you know, this is come before you for various iterations of One Stop for this particular site in the past. I think this one is a perfect opportunity. Just for a clarification, we were talking about housing work earlier. It's we're looking at MassWorks for this round, but it's all obviously underneath the One Stop program. So that's really the primary focus. But I think we have a great opportunity to look at doing some infrastructure work in here that obviously helps 15 Wells, but helps the entire park, helps the businesses, the tax-paying businesses that are there, the residents that are currently living at 15 K Street. It's a win-win for everybody, and certainly a win for the town. So, but you know, obviously there are questions related to the grant and whatnot. I'm happy to try and answer them as best I possibly can.
So can I jump in now?
Certainly.
Thank you. So that's the first you've all heard of the suggestion of maybe a MassWorks. So I talked to Jack earlier today. I put in my memo that this could be either a MassWorks or a Housing Works application. And the meeting we had with Lieutenant Governor Driscoll started with the town wasn't in support necessarily for the rest of the housing. We want to see that park developed into manufacturing and industrial. And I made it clear to the Lieutenant Governor, however, we are in support of housing in this town. We have a group dedicated to looking at housing in this town that's looking at other potential parcels in town. Because I want the state to know our priorities are their priorities while we're sitting here asking for grant money, right? And so we then made the case to the Lieutenant Governor about how, you know, there's so much opportunity here that Chip lost, right? The amount of manufacturing jobs that could come into the park, the amount of light industrial, the fact that we've already made connections, thanks to Thomas Oakshott, we put him in touch with MBI, a medical biotech company out of Worcester. You know, we're doing everything we can already to start to push those tenants we tried to push in the past, maybe that didn't go anywhere because the pricing structure Chip previously had wasn't competitive enough. So this could be the best opportunity we've had in my time here at the town. So I'm very excited. I think it's the right direction to go for the MassWorks grant. So if you would consider it, my logic is, and we talked about it in the memo for the MassWorks grant, we're not ready for the MassWorks downtown. I know we all want it, right? So we've talked about doing the orphaned segments on Hamilton Central Foster to finish those streets. The feedback we got in December from the MassWorks debrief was that we need more, we need design, we need to bring money to the table, that the MassWorks has to really prove the jobs, otherwise it's not competitive enough. We tried to use the argument of White Paper Strategies redeveloping Linda's, that the Clemenses were going to redevelop the Delicious building, 18 Central, but the feedback was you need more. And so what Jack and I talked about initially was, okay, maybe it's a MassWorks for the pre-development phase where we do just the design to tee up the project, which would be a lot more promising in application. But at this point, the other feedback we've gotten from Greg Russell at VHB is zip lips to Mass DOT about the project's end goal of a one-way, because if the TIP project catches on to that, they're gonna have an issue, and they're gonna wanna marry up all of our stuff. That's gonna slow down the TIP, that's gonna cause all sorts of potential issues there. We may actually be better off postponing that MassWorks for us until the TIP is starting to finish up. So if we took that logic, and then we took what's the best argument for this potential, we could potentially make a case for jobs more than housing, right? So if you'll all consider it, an amendment on the table, that's what my ultimate suggestion would be.
I'll make a motion to amend this to Growth Housing Works to Mass Works Grant.
And
Would you like?
I would, and then I also know that the elephant in the room is, how do we do this if Lundgren doesn't own this yet? So do we want to put in a little language about contingent on Lundgren Equities continuing their efforts to acquire the property, or something to that effect?
So, I mean, the only,
No, please, sir.
you know, you two are the experts in this. I've never done a one-stop application. The only thing I would want to make sure is the town, you know, receives those funds to use the bridges, and I am very confident that we will be in the position of ownership. But if we are not, those bridges still, in order to save that park and generate, generate businesses going in, those bridges have to get done regardless who owns this thing. So, and I don't know any other outcome that could happen other than the fact that we buy it, because there's nobody else interested, and there's nobody's come to those trustee meetings. Nobody's. I'm trying to find it. We are trying. But just in all honesty, there's, so the outcome is highly probable, if not, solid, that we are going to be the owners of this. But if we're not, for any reason that we don't see, the town still needs those bridges repaired. So I would hate that the town would be in a position where the MassWorks grant doesn't go through because of that, and because of any type of language.
So here's how the town would handle it. We have to apply, and then we have to come to the town council to accept the award, and at that time, we'll have a much clearer picture of where you are.
Good. To you, Mr. Chair.
That's all right.
So with the amendment to the motion, obviously, would be from the housing application to the MassWorks grant, pending purchase and sale by the Lundgren Group, or do you want something else specific in there?
Because we have to apply by June 3rd, and they won't have closed until, at best, late June, we probably have, we can either forego the language about them, contingent on them working towards acquisition. That to me would be, to satisfy anybody's concerns, right? But the other way it could be handled is you just, you approve applying, and then you don't accept the award if, when the award comes in, the owner is not who you want.
So I just, go ahead.
I think we're pretty clear of what we want, right? I think the best thing is get the application in, let the bankruptcy take the course that it is without any contingency done.
Okay.
And when we come back and it's awarded, we would have a better, clear picture. I think there's no secret that if it's anybody else, we would probably accept it. Anybody but
Sure.
the current owner. I think that's pretty clear from my perspective. I made that clear to the chairman today that my personal as town manager, given the history and the lack of response, but he owes the town of Southbridge, I have no interest in exposing the town of Southbridge to any more partnership with that individual. That's a totally town council's decision. Town council, they can tell me what. For me personally, I do not want to engage any further, and I want to make sure that this is a fresh start with a new group, whatever group it is. But I really think, given the communications that I've had with Tyler, and that and the honest approach and the partnership that we have developed so far, I think let's just get the grant application in, no contingencies, and see where it is. But if it comes back that it's still the individual, I would not support it. Having my team have to do all the work for that. That make sense?
Right, first let's get a motion. Motion.
We'll keep the original motion, which would be the replace the growth housing works to a mass works grant. Leave it as that, and then keep all the other language. So to read off is approved applying for the one-stop for a mass works grant for infrastructure improvements not to exceed $5 million at Southbridge Innovation Center and allow the town manager to sign all of the.
I have a motion to amend.
So
Is there a second? Good. Discussion on the amendment. Anyone?
Incorporate it in the whole discussion, or would you rather
Just the amendment right now.
Related to the amendment, I just want everybody to know what that obligates the Lundgren Equity to. With the housing works, we determined after the lieutenant governor's meeting that they wouldn't have needed a 25% design. With the MassWorks grant, they do need a 25% design. This just shows their level of investment, that they're willing to, like they were saying, they've already done some work related to the bridges. Their willingness to go forward and spend on design in advance of actually securing the property speaks volumes.
I'd just like to say, there's a lot of moving parts to this with the Lundgren Group. The Lundgren Group is a breath of fresh air to the town of Southbridge. Barry Lundgren, down in the front of us. Straight shooters, what you see is what you get. Real smoke and mirrors, like we had with the previous owner, I'd rather leave that as a history lesson to the town of Southbridge. And going forward, we've learned so much about this, so I think I'm in favor of moving forward on what Peg's talking about.
Any further discussion on the amendment? All those in favor? Unanimously approved? 4-0. Okay, so the motion as amended is review, discuss approval to apply for the one-stop for a MassWorks grant for infrastructure improvements not to exceed $5 million at Southbridge Innovation Center, and entertain a motion to recommend. Okay. Discussion now on the motion as amended. Anyone at the table first?
I'll hold off until,
Oh, go ahead.
Anyone else at the
I get a
table?
few.
Me too.
Councilor Adams.
All right, well, thank you, Mr. Chair, too. It was nice to meet you, thank you so much, and thank you for coming down and brief us tonight. As far as, when Council Laws reached out to me about the MassWorks grant, that's what I was expecting, then it became housing, then it became MassWorks grant. That's fine, I understand the whole process, whatever's best for this town. Time frame, this bankruptcy, do we have like an estimated time frame of when this decision could be made?
So I was at the court in Boston 2 days ago, this week, and so our motion was discussed, tabled, so the trustee, so the answer question is yes. We have a next meeting June 30th. So June 30th, we're back in front of the judge. The trustee of the bankruptcy court has approved our acquisition of all of these, they call it membership interest in the LLCs. So everything in the park is owned different LLCs. It is about as complex as the utility bills were there one day as well, right? It is, it's what you'd imagine. The org charts on these things look like something my 7-year-old would do sometimes. And so we have an approved application, an approved asset purchase agreement from the bankruptcy trustee. So he's the guy that collects all this stuff, and he says, okay, we went through with him, made an offer, he vetted it, we did all the legal stuff, and he said, okay, this is approved, now brings it to the judge. The judge had follow-up questions regarding operating agreements under each of these LLCs, something that's not in our control. So we've spent the last few days running around trying to collect all the information we can collect, feeding that back to the judge. And so on June 30th, the judge will have received all the information she's asked for. And we are confident that at that point, it wasn't really a question of the offer substance, it was a question of her wanting to check things off the list. And one of those things was 12 operating agreements, and she had 7. So June 30th will be approved. The purchase agreement has a 14-day window after that, a legal window to get to a closing. At that point, our legal team will draft our entities and we'll present our own operating agreements. And straightforward. And then we close approximately 14 days after June 30th. So pending no further legal trustee, requests, we would be very happy to close this thing mid-June, the July 4th holiday and things like that. So I would say mid-June, mid-July.
So I appreciate that. Just this may be a mute point at this. Is there any other group that may be interested?
So the legal process, from my understanding, was the bankruptcy trustee, his job was to find any interested party. So he went out there because he needs to generate the maximum amount of money coming in for these types of things for the estate. So he got our offer. He did public notice. There was a 30 to 45 day window of time where every stakeholder in the park and just the general public was noticed about the bankruptcy trustee filings. And our offer was on the table. At the time, anybody who was interested could come and say, we're also gonna make an offer. That time has come and gone, 45 days. There's still an opportunity, for somebody to come until the June 30th. If they are on the list of creditors, I believe, within the park. So if they have some kind of stake in the park already, such as one of the lenders, or somebody else who owns a piece of property. And so nobody else has come to the table. And I think that period of time has now come to an end. All the other stakeholders in the park, this is we're not trying to pass a quick one over here. We've essentially we're holding roundtable meetings with everybody who has a stake in that park. So everybody is on the same page as we are, all the other building owners, all the lenders. So it's complicated, as Scott said. There's a lot of work to be done. Even after we acquire these assets mid-July, there's still, it's still such a complex situation where we're going to be working hand in hand with all the folks that have an interest in the park.
Thank you for the answers. To Peg, real quick, do we have an opportunity zone in that area?
No,
I think it's outside of that, because I know we have two.
I believe it's outside. It
Okay.
cuts the town in half, goes north, but I don't think it stretches that far east.
I know it's over by Mill in that area,
Correct.
one of them.
And it goes straight up to the airport, because I think that was part of the strategy, was
Yeah,
for them
it's
to.
Okay, I was just wondering
It's
about the
outside.
investments itself.
We looked.
Okay.
We were hoping.
All right, and we got two of them, we're blessed. So, you would do the same thing when it talks about you owning the land, obviously in the buildings at the time. But if somebody was willing to come in there and say, look, I want this building, you'd be okay with having a discussion with that?
Oh, absolutely. There's two different ways we've talked about this with the existing building owners as well. There's a couple different ways to structure it. I think it'd be a leasehold interest purchase like we purchased, so we retain ownership of the grounds. The new buyer, like we are at 15 Wells, we bought the improvements on top of the ground. So we at 15 Wells pay a ground lease to the park. Those are important, right? Because it helps pay the bills. So we could simply do it in that capacity. If somebody wanted to own the dirt underneath their building as well, there's a legal means to do that. We can go through a condo association and we can restructure the park so it's individual parcel owners. Like right now for 15 Wells, we had an issue with this early on because the flow of money wasn't finding where it should go. And so we made the case to start paying our real estate taxes directly to the park, directly to the town.
Yeah.
And that typically doesn't happen for leasehold interest, but we were not comfortable with how things were going on. So we basically changed the park organizational structure so every building owner can pay their real estate taxes directly to the town. So there's definitely means to work with anybody who wants to buy one of these assets. And we are, our goal is to activate this park, right? Our primary objective here is to have a safeguard on our building with our great tenants so they stay long term. And then we've succeeded in doing that. And now it's okay, how do we get all these other buildings occupied so this park is thriving? That's really what we want to do.
So I'm assuming like 5-15, obviously is housing. That management company will remain in place, right, just for the housing portion of it, correct? Or would you guys be, okay, you stay out of that?
Yeah, that's they're operating. So we don't manage, just like every building in the park. The vacant buildings we have to manage. manage. The vacant buildings we have to care for, manage, improve to whatever extent we need to, make sure they're safe, and ready for more tenants. The buildings that are currently occupied, we manage, with Chappie Property Management, our own asset. 80 Optical and 10 Cabot use a company called Atlantic Property Management. Great company. They manage those two buildings. We as the owner of Southbridge Associates 2 manage the overall park. And so what we've been working on through this whole mess, because right now there's no real active management going on, is we kind of stepped in and say, okay, all these building owners that need snow plowing. Do you want one snow plow contract to come in? Or do you want to manage your own parking areas? And the parking is, as you know, down there, there's big fields of parking. So where do you draw the line? So we've figured out how to bring in, a single contractor where, the buildings pay for their own parking areas, but that snow plow removal guy does the common roads and then does the larger parking lots. So it's definitely a team effort down there in terms of that, but everybody's in charge of managing their own specific building for themselves.
Now, with the LLCs, right, that the multiple ones that you have within the park itself, is there any LLCs that you guys are looking to purchase outside of it?
There are, but they're not 100% owned by Chip Morton. So there's an example. He has a 25% ownership in an LLC that is in Worcester.
Okay.
And so it's in that situation where we've made an offer to buy every single LLC that was put up in this filing. Our purchase agreement allows us to pull one out, knowing that the information was going to be haphazard at best, right? So we're going to get to this point on June 30th, and now we have a lot more information than we did 2 days ago. So we can now take a look to see, okay, is this LLC that's in Worcester, is this, do we want to even touch this thing? So yes, there are a few that are minority positions that we will acquire.
And really the last question I have, it's interesting you talk about data centers that are, we have a conversation with possible data centers, or I don't know how far you go, what type of homes you absolutely need to have something like that out there. But the 5 through 15 K Street, got it, it's housing. What about the 2535? Is that still staying? I know you haven't purchased the property yet, but again, it's housing. We've been through a lot for the housing. I'm not saying we don't have to have it, we have to have it, we don't have to have it. Just want to know, is that plan still moving forward?
So I would say that is not our focus by any means,
Okay.
right? And what I would provide to the town is if I was in your seat, I would take a look at every single opportunity that presented itself in the park, and I would deem if it's good for the town or not, right? Our intent is not to build affordable housing there. We don't do it. We want the MassWorks grant to improve the bridges and the roads, and the retaining wall and the sewer. So that's the intent of the MassWorks grant. Peg and I talked about this before. And I echoed the same thing, saying if I was in the town's position, I would not want to say no to anything until I had it in front of me. But we are not going to come back trying to push housing on that park. That's not our objective.
Thank you.
By any means.
Thank you. Okay, that's all I've got. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
But you should look at it, just in case.
If I guess I should just clarify, so the planning board did just provide an extension to that permit, but that's all that exists right now related to that. We don't have
Okay.
a developer, we don't have any other prospect.
Okay, that's great. No, I just wanted to know where that.
There were LIHTC credits on the table that were held back because they're no longer as developed.
Yeah, it's most certainly not our core competency.
I actually have no problems supporting you guys and the endeavors for this whole thing. I really appreciate you guys' time and effort. I really hope that whoever makes the final decision understands all the work that you guys have put into this project already before you even own the damn property.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Citizen Bruno?
Yeah, I just wanted to add, I made a suggestion a couple of years ago when Chip was here in a meeting, just as an alternate access into the area, and I thought where Ideal Pool is, and there's Woodstock Road and the light there, if there was a way to blow out that parking lot and build a massive bridge to connect on that part where the school buses are,
Oh, yeah.
to connect, to make a road there that if trailer trucks needed to come in or whatever, it'd be an easier access.
So we talked about, yeah, because the bridges are, right, a big challenge and they require a huge investment, state funds, potentially we can marry that with some federal capital as well, because of our defense contractor, there's an opportunity there. So we're gonna be trying to gathering all of these potential grants. We talked about a potential idea for a permanent road into the back of the park. I think there's a lot of value in trying to look at that a little bit further. I think we need the infrastructure capital for the bridge, because I think that might be it's not easy, but that's the opportunity in front of us right now. I like the idea, and we did meet about this, about bringing a road in through the rear. It would go from, and I don't know my Southbridge geography as well as everybody else does here, but it would go across public-owned property, and then it would hit a 50-acre parcel that we're also acquiring called Southbridge Associates 3. Now, the benefit in that is, one, we can do it in such a way there's no bridge. So it can kind of be routed where there's no bridge. It can be used for trucking, or it can be used for emergency access. So it doesn't need to be like a permanent road in, but if something like this ever happens again, at least you have that. The other thing there is it would create developable industrial parcels. So not like we're lacking industrial space, but if you bring a road into the rear, it crosses 50 acres that's undeveloped, which is SA3, and then hits those where the school buses used to be. That road, could be frontage for a number of other industrial areas. So there's a real potential if we do what everything we want to do and activate this park. If we did something like that road, which would be a public-private partnership, because we run public to a certain extent, then we run private, you might find yourselves with a bunch of development parcels back there to attract more businesses.
Love that. I'm trying to win Powerball.
No,
I'd probably be the only person who's interested in buying the whole.
if you win Powerball, I
Complex.
would love to sit down with you, and I will work for you. And I will help you. I am not at all working for you.
Yeah, what's that? I've just got a couple of questions, basically. You're taking a power plant with us as well? The power plant?
We are taking the power plants, and that is, as Scott said, the whole thing's complex. So we're taking the power plants. We've made the offer to acquire SBC Energy. It's got a lender involved. We have a deal with the lender, so we've worked out a good deal with them. That's kind of contingent upon us getting through this bankruptcy hearing. The power plant it needs to be overhauled. It's a cogen CHP system. It needs to be overhauled, so it needs capital investment. It's come to the end of its life cycle. It's got a lot of deferred maintenance. We know the budget for overhauling. I wish we could put that in the one-stop allocation. So we know the budget for overhauling. It can be run as basically a switchgear from National Grid. So National Grid right now goes to the power plant, and then power plant runs its cogen, and it goes out. That operation doesn't have to continue, right? The power can come off the grid, can run as a switchgear, and can just be distributed to the buildings. So there's an option to not continue to run the cogen plant. The better option is to overhaul it. It's about $500,000, and continue to use the cogen plant to generate steam, generate additional electricity. In order for it to be run economically, we need more tenants in the park. So if we can get 2 more buildings occupied, then the cogen plant will be effective at providing cheaper electricity to those tenants than National Grid would. So there's an opportunity there. And the engineers, we hired a Waldron Engineering, which is a power plant engineering firm. We've spent some money already with them. They've analyzed the plant, and they've given us a couple different strategies to do here. We can not run the plant, still use it as the switchgear for electricity, and then when we find new tenants, we can kick it back on, right? So there's an option to kind of do that in the middle. We can overhaul it now and keep using it now. And it's, so we're kind of dealing with that whole situation too, but our intent is to use the plant. The data centers need more power, so they love the fact that there's a cogen plant, and that's an asset, right? Not many industrial parks, have an on-site power production facility. So even if it's in a state of deferred maintenance, it's still a really good asset there. So the data centers like it, the industrial tenants like it, because it can produce power cheaper than the grid. So you know, we're trying to work through the best ways to figure out how to upgrade that plant and use it. It can be expanded upon. It's like $1.5 million per megawatt or something like that. So you can add to it. And so when a data center or life sciences come in and needs more power, you can definitely expand it and use that power plant to power those buildings, provide the energy they need. We're working with National Grid as well. So National Grid's deal is that they will connect directly to a building, but you can't have two forms of power going to a building. So you can't have National Grid coming in one side and the SBC Energy Power Plant coming the other. They just don't allow that. But National Grid is happy to work with us to provide power to the plant, and then they're also happy to work with us to provide power directly from the street to any of these buildings that might need it. So if there's a building, a data center, or a defense contractor who can't rely on the power plant, it has to be for federal regulations connected to the utility grid. National Grid is very happy to provide that connectivity as well.
Great. It's obvious that you are being open and honest, transparent in your relationship with the town. It seems like you've done that as well with the various creditors. It sounds like none of the creditors are really up in arms about anything that's going on.
They're in a tricky spot. So the creditors, the lenders have extended mortgages that are in greater value than the value of the assets. So, you know, they've extended loans, and the collateral building behind the loans are, as they currently sit right now, are not worth what their loans are. And so they're all they're trying to save face, they're trying to save their roles and their jobs, and they're trying to save their bank's money. And Savers Bank is an important lender for us across our portfolio. We have a great relationship with them, and they're in a very tough position, which is good because they know they have to work with us. And they've been very open about working with us as well, right? They're trying to restructure their debts. They're trying to figure out how they help us, help them kind of thing. So, but they're in a very tough position. They're very unhappy, but there are very few avenues for them to proceed on, right? And so their number one thing they want to do is work with us. If we can't figure out a solution for a specific loan on a specific building, then they have to, banks don't want to take the building back. That's one option. They would have to take the building back. We're still the owner of the ground. We would still own the underlying real estate, but if the bank would have to take it back, and then they would either have to auction it or they have to keep it on their books. So they're trying everything to do in their power. Banks don't want to own real estate, so they're working with us on that. And the loan officers across the board are very reasonable, right? They're very much, they know the position that they're in, and they want to be helpful, right? Especially Savers. There's a local lender. They're important in the town. The town's important to them, so they want to see this thing work.
Great. Is this the largest project that the company, Lundgren, has been involved with?
Probably the largest from like a physical footprint. Not the largest like economics in terms of either price, either acquisition price or redevelopment price. I would say it's one of the most complex projects that we've worked on, just because of the nature of how the CHIP created this innovation center and what it has here with all these LLCs and all the layers of ownership and the ground lease situation. So it's one of the more complex projects we've worked on. It's got one of the best opportunities, I would think, in terms of the potential for it. But it is going to be a long path forward for sure. It's not something that we're going to find, tenants and users in tomorrow. But we have a good strategy laid out, right? And I kind of go back to the one-stop, right? So the first issue we had was this: how do we solve the infrastructure? Right? How do we figure out, how can I go out and find a data center or a life sciences company and show them a nice, beautiful industrial building that needs, we have a budget, so 35 Optical needs a new roof, that's a few $1 million. It needs new electric distribution, new HVAC. So we have this budget going on for this one building. We say, okay, tenant, we can work with you on this. We can do this, you guys do this. We can write a lease that's very effective for you. Their first question is, well, hold on a second, how am I supposed to get in and out of this park? And we said, oh, well, so we had to solve for, it's kind of like we solve for, you know, like a domino effect. You solve for the first one, it's ingress egress, so that we fix the sewer, which is part of this one-stop application. It's start getting the town current, fix that situation, what's going on there with the billing and the sewer. Then we solve the electrical distributions, there's some retaining walls and some road work that needs to be done. So we can kind of fix the bones of it, and that's gonna help everybody find these tenants and say, okay, now it's just about the specific building. This park is now stable.
Well, I appreciate Lundgren, Mr. Lundgren and his associates taking an interest in us. The complex is very important to the town. Anyone that's been here for any amount of time has an affinity for it. There's still a lot of people around that worked there at one point, like everyone worked there at one point. So you're taking an interest in it and really sorting out all the strands of spaghetti that you're dealing with. Really, it took a commitment on Mr. Lundgren's part and on your part, and I appreciate that very much. Council Shannon.
I just want to understand fully what's going on down there. You're going to purchase all the land, or you're going to acquire all the land. You're going to acquire the buildings that are not already owned by some other people. The apartment complex that's there now, that's when management company runs it. You're going to acquire that?
No, that is owned by, who owns that? I think that is its own animal. We are not acquiring that. That is owned by Wind Development, and it is managed by the Wind Company. So that is not within our acquisition.
So the land underneath it is yours?
Though I don't think that doesn't sit. Is that on a ground lease? I'd have to get back to you. I think that actually does sit on a ground lease. I think they pay it's like $1 a year kind of ground lease. So yeah, so we would acquire the ground if my memory serves me correctly. It's a very, very friendly ground lease where it's maybe $500 a year. So we would acquire the ground underneath it. The ground lease doesn't change. It's the ground lease runs. It's a 75-year plus extension ground lease.
So you would maintain the land.
We would maintain the land. It depends upon the management agreement that in the ground lease there's a provision that says something along the lines of grounds care and snow removal, right? If it's on us, we would do it. If it's on Wind, they would continue to do it.
So the next building that's, the vicinity is the one that's falling down, you're going to take care of that?
Yeah, so 40-50 optical, 25-35 case, 70 optical. Those are the 35 optical. So those are the 6 completely vacant, owned buildings currently by Chip in our bankruptcy trustee.
So the building that's behind the apartment complex that's there now, it's falling down, it's all in.
Yeah.
So that you're going to take care of that?
Yeah, I think that's 40 or 50.
Right. So 25 case, I believe, is the proposed apartments that's been permitted. That last I knew had a tax break from the government, maybe?
I'm not exactly sure the tax credits.
They were applying for tax credits. They were never awarded because everything started to unravel before the tax credits were awarded. Chip was going through that process at the time, but they haven't been awarded.
Okay, so that building, I'm on the housing plan, just didn't talk to much. I just don't think housing fits into an industrial complex, especially like that place. You got limited access with one-lane bridges and those kind of things, traffic coming back and forth. If you develop that into a housing project, as it's been permitted for, would consideration be done instead of being apartments for rent, would be condos for sale?
Yeah, we have no interest in pursuing the housing right now. That is not. We don't specialize in it. If you know, if the town wanted to explore it, what I would say is we would step up and help you find somebody you want to work with on that, because that's not our, that's not our focus.
So from there you go to the powerhouse.
Yep.
You got 50 optical, I think, and 40 optical that were proposed to be, and I believe went through the permitting stages of turning it into apartments. Your plan is to hopefully turn it into industrial.
We want industrial users, yes. That's the objective.
Sewer upgrades, that's gonna be on the grant with
Yep.
also our pocket money.
Correct. Yes, sewer upgrades are gonna be, there's some sewer piping issues, that connect from the mains going into the park, so we're putting in some aspect of fixing the current sewer structure there. I understand though it has to be, these have to be public entities that the funds go into, so we have to work, we gotta work to figure out exactly, you know, we will take on, as we've said about the bridges, since we're gonna use ideally state level funds, we're gonna go to the federal government as well with a defense contractor if needed, try to marry some federal funds. We've had the Department of Defense be helpful in this, and we have their ear. So we're gonna try to marry that if we need to with some federal level funds. And what we've mentioned before to the town manager is that we will take on maintenance and repair obligations for anything that those funds are used on. So like the bridges, for example, we repair the bridges using state level funds. We will overlay maintenance agreements and put all the onus back on us because it's a private bridge now. So the town doesn't need to start with the bridge. Nor does the town need to start with any infrastructure that to upkeep. So we will put a maintenance agreements overlaid on everything that we use this for, to put the onus back on us as the owners of the park to maintain.
And it's pretty much this one. I mean, I'm anxious. I was disappointed with Chip. He made promises to the town that never happened.
Yeah, we're the same.
I think you're a different.
We're in the same boat, right? So that was, you know, as the owners of 15 Wells, we were hearing a lot of promises as well, and we found ourselves in the same position as all the other, you know, property owners in that park, you know, have found themselves in. So.
Well, I've heard about the group and the willingness to do what you're going to do. I'm looking forward to seeing you come into town and
Thank you.
actually, you know, get involved, hopefully revitalizing that area of town.
Great. We're happy for your help.
Chairman.
On the planning board issue, did they request to renew it, or did you automatically renew?
It's state law that said that they were going to have, because any permit that had been issued after, I think, 22, got an automatic 2-year renewal,
Okay.
and it was coming up, and it was gonna be automatic anyway, they just did it as a formality.
It doesn't have to go back to council or anything like that? Okay.
Anyone else?
Oh, go ahead, Joe.
After you.
Thank you. I did have one question. We had an agreement, I believe it was in place. I forgot the name of that agreement.
So
But it's a,
I apologize, Julie. In our last meeting, I said, Julie, we never got that amended. And so it actually has been corrected to what we wanted. The one line we were all concerned about,
the one line, yeah.
yes, has been removed so that we're comfortable with the agreement. This is an agreement that goes back to 2021 that you all were fine with. And then we made some changes.
So that'd be a good part of this one, too.
Yeah, just a couple little changes.
Yeah, great.
It's a covenant.
That's what it was. I knew it was some.
Some fancy
Okay,
tool.
got it.
And I do think just, it's important to note though, that is something that I think that there's still opportunity to like continue to review, make sure that we have all the language proper. But that does not need to be in place before this application is submitted. It would obviously be in place, you know, prior to the work commencing. So that shouldn't be contingent upon.
It was just one of those items that obviously was very, I wouldn't say controversial, it was just like trying to get the words correct, to make sure that public-private process was doing okay, I mean, where the town was here to support you all, or that area, along with public safety, and along with public access, per se. So that's you know, you got a lot of walkers down there. You got a lot of people that just really enjoy walking the old buildings and enjoying the place. But of course, the public safety is another portion of it. So, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, part of the grant, or part of the optical drive bridge does involve a pedestrian, like, side, corridor, like, on the bridge, say next to the bridge. So there's a separation between vehicular travel and pedestrian travel. So we have investigated these other bridges these are strictly pedestrian bridges that kind of run by the hotel. So those have to be looked at a little bit deeper to see if they're even to code, are they safe? But the primary focus is on the pedestrian and the vehicular bridge on Optical, as well as the vehicular bridge on Louis Street.
Thank you very much.
Council Dow.
Thank you, Chair, for you. When I came on a council 6 years ago, this is what was my dream. They all go back and industrial and businesses, because this is a history, not only in Southbridge, everywhere in the whole country, in the whole world. You know, they all known by businesses industrial, and then you guys came in now, you got all my support. Before, I'm gonna be honest with you, I was looking at it like it not exist in Southbridge. Everybody come for housing or something else, I wasn't supported at all. You guys promised you're gonna put businesses industrial there, you get all my support. So thank you for coming in and work our best. We'll do whatever we can to make it happen. Thank you.
Councilor.
One more question, with the hotel, hopefully you're gonna acquire the hotel.
Yeah, we are acquiring the LLC, and we have an offer to the lender in the hotel right now, who's Excalibur, and we made them an offer, for acquiring the hotel. We made them two types of offers. One, they can stay in as the lender, and if they want to leave as the lender, here's the number for staying in, and here's the number for leaving.
So the plan is to go in there and probably not rehab it, but reface it.
It needs $2.5 million of room upgrades and common area upgrades. So we've drilled down on that. The management company you all have there, Shaner, it is a really good job. I like Derek. I think Derek runs it over there. It's a solid management company. They've been bamboozled as well. You know, they've been dragged through the same thing everybody else has. They have a part ownership of the hotel. They want to do what's right. They would love to stay on and manage it. They've taken the rug's been they've taken out underneath them. They had a budget every year to market the hotel because it's a convention hotel, right? You need conferences, you need conventions, and so their budget was slashed to do any marketing for the convention. So our plan is to keep Shaner involved. They know how to run the hotel. They've done a good job with the limited resources they've been given. Help them revitalize it and give them the capacity to go out and find some more conventions and market it, which they're successful in doing. They just, they had a budget for $200,000 a year to do so, and they got zero the last few years. So they're trying their best to keep people coming there. So we're happy to work with them.
So London Group's plan is to keep that hotel under the London umbrella.
It'll be its own entity, its own LLC, but it'll be part of our acquisition, and we'll keep Shaner Management in there. And it's a great property. It's got a lot of good potential. There's no need to change it other than the fact that I think the mattresses and the TVs are still pretty dated. I think it just needs, and this was coming from Shaner. We really relied on Shaner to tell us what do you need to be successful. We don't own and operate hotels. Right, so we're saying, okay, Shaner, we need, you stay in with us. You're going to stay in as part of the owner, which you currently are, and tell us what you need to be successful. So, well, we need better flat screen TVs, and we need a new paint and things. But there's an office component to the hotel as well. We have a lease that's just on standby. With another DCAM lease that is sitting there waiting to go. They want to move in. That lease requires the landlord to put in about $500,000 to pay for the brokers and to pay for some improvements in that space. And the current owner is refused to pay. The current lenders refused to pay. So that's a great example of the fact that you have a tenant that is sitting there saying, they have a lease. I think they've signed a lease. They have a tenant with a signed lease sitting there saying, we're ready to occupy 20,000 square feet of this vacancy in this hotel and the office side of it. And it's a 10, 20-year lease, and it just takes somebody to step in and like figure out how to get them in there, and nobody's willing. Chip wasn't willing to do it because there's no money to do it, and then the hotel owners, lenders at the time, were doing it, and then because of the bankruptcy filing, things like that. So there's opportunity in, I think, every aspect of this park. It's just being flexible too. You know, the other thing is about flexibility. You can't ask for, you can't ask for $1 million a square foot and expect somebody to come in here. You have to work with them. You know, and so we're open to, we're in business to make money, but we have equity there already. Like, we are sitting there with a great property, 15 wells, great tenants, and what we want to do is we want to activate the rest of the park. Everybody wins, we win, the thing's stable. Guess what? Our property's worth more. It's funny how real estate works, right? So I think working with everybody to get some of those tenants in there is really the name of the game.
Great, thank you.
Okay. I just want to say that discussion ran long. Is that my side of it? No, don't apologize.
No, I think
Don't apologize. It ran long, and it was necessary to run long because I think this is vitally important to the town, incredibly so. And I think that all the citizens in town are anxious to find out what's happening. You hear things through the air, and you hear rumors and that sort of thing, and you were very clear tonight. You were very open and honest and forward with us, and I appreciate that. And so if it took another half hour, another hour, I was willing to go another half hour, another hour to discuss this.
All right, let's go.
I'm happy to come back anytime and sit down.
George was sleeping on the chair,
So I definitely appreciate the fact that you were open with us, that you were forward with us, that you came to us to discuss what's going on. You're offering us some hope for an area that we had hoped for a long time ago, and we were kind of crushed a little bit, and I guess, and surprised by what's going on. And now there's light at the end of the tunnel again, and that's so important to the town. And I definitely appreciate it myself on a personal level. So thank you very much. Send our regards to Mr. Lundgren. I will. Tell him that he's free to come down anytime he wants, and if you'd like to talk with us about anything, Peg, Mr. Jovan, we're all available. Council chair, committee chair, we're all here. Great. So, any further discussion? Very well. All those in favor? Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. I just wanted to let Tyler know this goes to town council on June 1st, but we'll obviously be working very closely between now and then on the application.
I'm gonna call you tomorrow.
And we shouldn't expect Tyler to have to go to town council, correct?
What's that?
We shouldn't expect Tyler to have to go to town council, correct?
Oh,
Okay, very good, thank you. Yeah,
It's a drive for me.
Yes.
When we get the grant, then you'll have to be there for the acceptance.
I'm looking forward to that. So yes, thank you. Just checking my calendar just in case.
Thank
okay.
Great.
No further discussion. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Unanimous of all present.
Thank you.
Thank you
very
all.
much.
Have a great night.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you as well.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you. Nice to meet you. I'm sure I will be seeing more than you care to say to us. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank
Nice
you.
to meet
Yes.
Let me make it all that money get up.
We'll talk soon.
Yeah, we'll talk.
Yeah.
Would you be willing to suspend the
Where do you
rules
travel?
to maybe,
I live in
do
Brooklyn, New York.
an extended
Everybody always
agenda
asks me
item?
why I live in Brooklyn, New York. I'm talking about it. Thank you.
Great job.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
I was there for Hurricane Sandy with the Red Cross.
Oh, boy. Well, man, being in New York, we appreciate you.
Yeah, 30 days. I
No.
stayed in Park Central, Park Central Hotel.
Yeah.
I had a room all by myself. I went to sit by my laundry downstairs. I ran out after a week. Cost me $96.
Yeah. Welcome to the model. We can share some stories about
I
that.
was there during the whole month. The service call would be with all the people.
Yep.
I had to relocate to Brooklyn. I was in one of those hotels. You know, my alarm lost power and everything. So thank you. I appreciate it. You guys.
Let's get it out there, yeah.
All right, bye.
Bye, guys.
Okay, at this point, I'd like to take a motion to suspend the rules and move agenda item number 11 to next.
So moved.
Thank Any discussion? All those in favor? Anyone opposed? No. Okay, so we're moving on to agenda item number 11. To be discussed at this point. Item 11 reads as follows. Review discuss to apply for the Municipal Energy Technical Assistance CDOT grant to fund an engineering study for up to $25,000 needed for the water department's heat pump bid specifications. Entertain a motion to recommend to town council approval and allow the town manager to sign all related paperwork.
So moved.
Second. Very good. Mr. Manager.
Yeah, so we do have a grant opportunity for the heat pump, Steve had brought up, it is part of my capital plan within, when I brought it up the other night about the capital plan. So this would be, give us the technical assistance to actually apply for an engineering study, so that would make sure we do it right. Hopefully avoid those changeovers that everybody talks about. So Kate, in her role now as the municipal energy person, as specialist, the expert, has found this grant, and it is for the heat pumps. The specific project, I'll defer to Steve, Kate, for technicality, but I would recommend this. I know we did talk about with Peg the other day, was the engineering. You know, most of this work is all done through Guardian, right, as a consultant, right, Guardian Energy, right, through our consultant. But we felt it best that we have to at least go off our quotes for engineering. This would give us the opportunity to get some money outside of the capital money that we would use. It's about a $400,000 project. $300,000 we would get that I allocated to the capital, $100,000 for the grant, and we would use this other grant to get the engineering done. So try to maximize through grants to get the support project completed at the water treatment facility.
Very good. Do you folks have anything you'd like to add? Steve? Hey?
I'm glad to answer any questions you have. One question on the grant. Is there anything matching that we have to come up with?
Yeah, the $300,000.
It's like the 300, right? No, but I'm just
Oh, for
looking.
the 300, that's like a rebate from National Grid, the 100,000.
Okay. Great.
So that's very approval.
On this grant, the $25,000 now.
Okay, that's awesome.
$25,000.
Didn't think it was
Just a piece of equipment. So.
Thank you. Ladies? All set? Great. Okay. All those in favor? 4-0.
Should have done first.
I never say that.
And Steve asked whether he should be here. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here.
Steve, blame it on John, it was his fault.
Yep.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Item number 4, we're back in regular order. Review, discuss approval to apply for the One Stop for Growth Planning Grant to complete the environmental review of the urban renewal plan's major amendment for $125,000. Entertain a motion to recommend to town council for approval and allow the town manager to sign all of the paperwork. So moved.
So, if I may, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to let Peg talk real briefly on all these. These are grant opportunities for us to do a variety of projects. This one, the urban renewal plan did call that we have to do an environmental review as part of that amendment, I believe. And so she can talk through any questions that you might have, but this would be an opportunity for us to get that done through the grant.
I had put the amount for $125,000. Looking back at their quote, they're actually only asking for $35,000 for the plan. So I need to refresh it. I might ask if you want to approve for up to maybe $40,000 to cover us. I feel like that would be a comfortable amount to go forward right now.
So you want to amend it from 125 to 40?
Yeah.
Okay.
You sure that 40 is good? How about
I'm sure.
up to 50?
50 is good too, if you
How
want
about for up
to
to 50 and then
to
when
keep
we
a
get
buffer?
the we can.
About 125.
Yeah.
I mean, it's 125.
Well, that's up to you.
For up to 125, and then when we get it
All
up.
right, okay.
Okay.
So
For up to.
words, up to.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That'll be a
Then that gives us, rather than having to come back and amend and all that,
Okay.
for up to, and then once we're pinning down the number, we'll get it
Okay.
45. Okay.
Okay. I'll take that amendment.
The state.
Stay, okay, no, all right, yes, you're right. You're right. Okay, we've got friendly amendment, that's fine, good. So, the item reads as, review and discuss approval to apply for a one-stop for Growth Planning Grant to complete the environmental review of the urban renewal plan's major amendment for up to $125,000. Entertain a motion, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so that's what we're voting on. Any discussion? Okay.
In order for us to take any action in this new urban renewal plan major amendment, which expands the urban renewal area, we need the environmental review, which then allows us to get the whole plan approved by EOHLC. Once we have that approval, then the redevelopment authority could potentially take action. For instance, should the town ever want to consider giving them a building such as the fire station or 39 Elm or any other building that's now in their new amendment, they're allowed to take it.
Any discussion? Any further? So, being no further discussion, all those in favor? Unanimous of all present. Okay, item number 5. Review, discuss approval to apply for the One Stopford Grove, Massachusetts Downtown Initiative to help fund a parking study for $75,000. Entertain a motion to recommend to town council for approval and allow the town manager to sign all related paperwork. So moved.
Second?
Well, I know we discussed this last year. I believe we put in for the same opportunity last year. We did not get selected. As I mentioned last year, you know, parking is a premium downtown. I think as parking study, especially now the fact that we have purchased next door, we can include that for this whole downtown parking study.
So that's a reason for having another study.
We didn't get awarded last year, so we're asking again for that study again.
Am I in error then? Did we have one 10 years ago, 20 years ago?
Well, we probably had multiple ones of those
Over the years.
over the years, and they did the exact same thing. They sat on a shelf doing nothing.
I think now, if I may,
Sure.
now that we've acquired next door,
Yeah.
you know, that gives us a little more expansion of what we own for public space. Have them take a look at La Rochelle Way because, you know, that is a public parking, and once the R&B leaves there, what do we do with that? Do we have enough parking there? If we decide to sell the building, is that a good move or not, right? We have to incorporate that, right? If we sell the building, does the parking go with it? We carve out the building with limited space to keep public parking. So I think, yeah, we don't want plants to sit on the stage. I was a town manager 10 years ago, but I think this is a good opportunity to have that refresh of what our parking is in the area downtown.
Very good. Okay, I'm good. Anyone else? Council Shannon?
I don't know if you want a discussion vote on it first, but I have difficulty spending $75,000. I know it's not our money, you're applying for it, for parking studies, they've gone nowhere, ever. And I know you're gonna give me the best case scenario, but every time that this comes forward, the studies are always the best case scenarios. We're supposed to put a double decker up on behind the fire station, and one of the studies came up with, and what do we
That
got
was
there?
across the street.
You know?
Yeah.
We did a study for the Central Street parking lot, I believe. Part of that was in the parking. You know, so we spend a lot of money for parking studies that go nowhere.
If I may, through you, Chair, I'd like to think that our department is proving to be good at taking things that have been in plans and moving them forward. We're not inventing brilliant ideas, we're taking brilliant ideas that were baked into already provided public engagement plans and moving them forward, like the rail trail. So I'd like to hope that the parking study, if it has solid recommendations that the town agrees with, that we would be able to take some of those things forward. I understand there's frustration. Central Street parking lot, I can speak to. I understand that before me, the department felt like a $2 million parking garage was unthinkable, that the town wouldn't need it. I, sitting in this chair, said the town should have gone forward with a parking garage, seeing that the parking garage would have provided the elevators to the back sides of those Main Street buildings that now sit vacant because they can't bring their buildings up to code. It would have solved a problem that at that time seemed like it wasn't a need. But, you know, so I would like to think that, you know, if there were recommendations in the plan, we'll try to take them forward. And with the parking, it's amazing how controversial parking is. So we have we had Hudson give us a presentation about why Hudson made it over the last 10 years. And we asked, how did you deal with parking? And they said, parking wasn't an issue. When people want to go somewhere, they'll find a place to park. They'll walk to it. If it becomes a place of demand, there's no issue. And where I've heard people say, oh, if there's no parking, it's not going to make it. So there are different opinions out there. I think that might be part of why parking inherently is controversial.
I don't know.
Okay, Citizen Marshall.
I think it's gonna be great, especially with the rail trail. People will need to know where they can park to go onto the rail trail. That's my question even right now. Where can we park to get onto the rail trail to be able to go walk?
EMB, Low Crane,
Okay, that's not.
the Greek.
That's
Yeah, but
private
that's-
property, you
that's-
can't park
No,
there.
there's gonna be some parking area there, isn't there? All right, so my mistake.
That's-
There's locations around, that's study, if I'm right or wrong, it's not gonna incorporate the whole rail trail parking issue, is it?
We were going to look at just the downtown, but
Correct.
should we expand that scope to look at for the rail trail also? That sounds like a great idea. Yeah.
If it adds a little,
There you go, you solved it,
Yeah.
done. I agree with you, George, thank you.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous.
It's a great idea if we can expand it out there.
Yes.
you can do it, why not?
That's right.
Sold me.
Maybe we can talk to Squires and parking in RMG.
Item 6, review, discuss approval to apply for the One Stop for Growth Site Readiness Grant for 30 Mill Street for up to $500,000. Entertain a motion to recommend to town council for approval and allow the town manager to sign all related paperwork.
So moved.
us to say to bend over backwards and do them a little back.
Mr. Manager.
Well, as everybody's aware, we took down that building. We have materials there that are covered, and we want to try to get opportunity for some grant money to see how we can get that property. By doing the readiness study, it'll give us an opportunity perhaps for further grants to have removals and economic growth. To further pay
The site readiness could even do the cleanup.
depending on how much it's going to cost.
Right, exactly. So what we're hoping is that it's determined that there isn't as much contamination as, what might be feared, worst case scenario, right? So if there's less contamination, site readiness is a great opportunity for this town because it's a blanket, what do you need to do to get your parcel ready for development? Not just, is it dirty, is it brownfield or not? So I feel like, okay, we lost the EPA brownfield grant opportunity, unfortunately. Next, let's try this one. And at the same time, Katie's been trying to advocate for a regional brownfield grant. So we're trying multiple angles to make sure that we can clean this site up.
That's good. Discussion. All those in favor? Unanimous and all present. Item number 7, review, discuss approval to apply for the One Stop for Growth MassWorks grant for a pre-development design project for improvements to Vanderbilt Central and Foster Street for up to $500,000. Entertain a motion to recommend to town council for approval and allow the town manager to sign all related paperwork.
So moved. A second.
So this, we already touched on this as part of the conversation with K Street. Well, that property down there. We have a lot on our plate right now. I don't know, if we want to have competing grants for MassWorks. So I think we should withdraw this one for this year and get prepared as we close out all the other. Bob and I had a great meeting this morning that we discussed all the projects that we have on the books right now to close those out, make sure that all our funding's in place, and then really start the plans for next year in September to say, okay, where we're going. While we still do some small Chapter 90 roads, whatever we can do, but give us an opportunity to catch our breath, close projects out. We have the Raise project that we're really we got to get out for an RFP for that, which is a huge project as well. At the same time, we'll start laying down the foundations of what we want those 3 streets to look at, work with the council, DPW subcommittee to figure out what the best approach is, and not compete also with the TIP project. So we don't want to put any money grants. Let them get underway really on that one, and really let's focus on this MassWorks grant for that complex down there, and not have a competing grant. That's our recommendation. So ask that you withdraw.
Okay. Councilor Adams.
what's gonna happen to Foster Street with the water project?
No, that's still being done.
Right, but what's gonna happen to the street?
Well, we still have money with the $1 million to pave it. I mean, it's gotta be paved over. I mean, it's just that whole, whatever else additional work that we would do with sidewalks and all that. There's not gonna be left.
So we're gonna bring it into a drivable road?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
No, it's not gonna be left the way it is. I mean, that is part of the TIP project, that is part of the TIP project, so, yeah. It was just, we had thought about the big concept of new sidewalks, wider sidewalks, putting utilities underground, so, yeah, we can't leave it the way it is, no.
Well, we can, but it seems to be happening anyway.
Well, we could, if you really want us, we could grill mill it today, waste the money.
No, I
Put down
get
some
it,
pavement,
but you're gonna be
yeah.
doing the water project with the enterprise fund money.
Well, it's part of the TIP project. The money that we gave is requirement of $1 million for that water infrastructure part of the TIP. So when they rip it up, they still have to pave it over.
Right, that's basically what I'm
Yeah.
hoping happens.
Yeah.
Well, that's what has to be done. It's part of the project.
That's right.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I was thinking the same thing we were talking about, we talked about this multiple times, Mass Works grants and how many do, and then they interfere with each other, and then it messes things up. I know when we had this conversation about this Mass Works grants, trying to figure out if this is something that we really wanted to do for the AO area. My question is that on those 3 streets, I mean, it's gonna go from a nice main street into pothole heaven into a nice.
No, it's gonna be paved. We still have to pave over that.
So is it gonna, but what,
When the water is done, we have to pave over that, once they rip it up.
so, from the light, we're gonna repay from the light?
And so it
Is
might.
there an area in which there's a small area on both sides that are not?
So I would think of it like when National Grid comes in, does underground work, and then they do a strip of pavement. The road may be, not the entire width of the road. We could ask for the entire width of the road.
Yeah, or we'll revisit chapter 90 money, because it is a chapter 90
Yeah,
road.
that
I mean, we will
yeah.
do something to make sure that the
Just to
road.
look
Again,
half decent, but
again, Mike,
remembering that in the future, we might do the whole,
Right.
roads all over.
Yeah, no, I would not, no, we'll come up with a plan for that. We would, because you're talking, when you do something like that, right, we would probably go to, that would be part of the, Ludlow's property, right, Ludlow's on that one? Ludlow would have part of that, right? So they would be responsible for all the trench that would go down. We would just simply say, okay, how much more would it be that we would contribute to chapter 90 to do those 2 little signs on each side if we had to.
Right, so my concern was with that whole thing was you're doing the TIP project, takes you to a certain point, and it stops. And you have Main Street, the light, are we gonna be paving that road? And I asked the individual that talked to me about it, I said, can we still have an idea of using chapter 90 money, even if it's just temporary, to repave the rest of the road? Just for a temporary fix.
Right. No, we could, and again, the TIP project, when they put up the water line, they're responsible for putting the patches in. So the water line is going on all 3 of those from Main Street down. So it's not that,
Okay.
that extra $1 million that we're paying, that we allocate for the water, right, is not the water lines in the TIP project, it's the water lines upper, because it's not within the TIP limits. That's my understanding, this whole bid scope, that was the $1 million.
Okay.
So that $1 million was not the water, because that was part of that whole TIP. It's those lines that come from here to the limit. They would have to repave it, and we will coordinate. You're not talking a lot of money to do the pavement on top of it afterwards.
Okay, that's all I'm asking. I'm good now. I'm fine.
Yeah, we would get, I wouldn't want to leave it that way. That would
Yeah,
be
that's what-
ridiculous.
Okay.
That would be my only problem.
No, I wouldn't say a fear of mine, but one of
Oh,
those.
no, I think it's a valid point.
Okay.
Any further discussion?
Are we withdrawing it?
With, take no action.
Take no action? All right. We need to vote on it?
Yeah, moves to take no action.
All right, I'll take a motion to take no action.
So move.
Second.
Very good. Any
Oh, no,
discussion?
I would move, no, take no action would mean it still go up to sounds like.
Right. Withdraw.
Make a withdraw.
Erase it.
All right,
Erase, yeah.
all right, I'll take a motion to withdraw the item.
Yeah, I'll motion that.
All right.
I would say,
Why don't we even
no,
ask
I
for-
would just say,
Listen.
we won't even put it up.
Right.
Don't even have to take a vote, right?
All right.
It's, or withdraw your motion because you moved, so,
Okay.
But take no action in the town council, not to, in the town manager remove,
Very good.
whatever.
All right.
Not a big thing, right? That's
Well, it depends on the motion. Go ahead.
All right.
Well,
Let me think about this for a second.
Just move to strike it from the agenda.
Yeah.
the town manager has recommended
Okay,
remove.
I'll take a motion to strike the item from the agenda.
I'll second that.
Okay. Thank you.
With emotions.
All those in favor? All right, the item has been struck from the agenda. Removed, struck. So, there's no item. Okay. Item number 8, review discuss to establish a special revenue account to be known as the EV Charging Station Fund in accordance with MGL 44, Section 53, for the purpose of receiving and expending revenues generated from municipally owned electric vehicle charging stations. Further, that all receipts collected in connection with the operation of municipal EV charging stations shall be deposited into said fund and may be expended without further appropriation for costs associated with the installation, operation, maintenance, repair, and expansion of electric vehicle charging infrastructure, including equipment, software, utilities, and expenses.
So moved.
So,
This is a mechanism for, we charge here at the town hall, we charge down at the RMV, just being our, that money could be deposited in a special revenue account and then pay, any expenses out of that.
Any questions?
I just want to say that this motion's not my fault. This was all Christine's language.
Counselor?
I have a hard time actually approving this because of the fact that it's open-ended. You can do what you want with it all before going to council. If you wanted to go take that money and install more electrical units elsewhere in town, that gives the authority to do that without going to council. Am I correct?
If I may, through you, Chair, any contract by charter has to go through town council.
I understand that.
So if there was a proposition for EV
No
chargers,
addresses, we
it
couldn't
would
do
have to
it.
go through, it would have to be approved.
This
through
would be
service
the
contract.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is allowing us to take that money in and pay the electric bill. If the head on the electric thing broke and we had to replace it, we could replace it. So when you say installation simply means you buy the replacement part and you install the part. We would not install any other electric charging stations in town. That takes a contract. I can't do it.
Mr. Chair, the other thing for me, it's a service. We have to have a contract to be able to install anything. It has to come to the council for approval no matter what. So, I mean, there's a safeguard, oversight, whatever you want to call it, in place. But if we're able to do that and then pay the bill through it. Can I ask some question?
I don't want to be in the electric car business, I mean the charging business. I don't want the town to be in an electric business to charge cars, to be honest. I just don't want it. But I forgot about the contract coming to council.
Right, and we already have electric, right now, if a person uses this right now,
Right.
we went and made those, that you have to pay for it. We don't have a mechanism to pay the electric bill for it, so everything is coming out of the town hall account.
I totally forgot about the charter contract.
I guess my only question would be, are you worried about being able to take money out of that account to utilize it for anything they wanted, or
No,
would it just be,
I
okay?
mean,
Just wanted to
I
clarify.
would just say put it back to the general fund and then come back to council for an appropriation to repair or whatever, but you explained it and I
Yeah.
understand it better.
Yeah, because if it goes, if it goes back to the general fund, you know, it just makes it easier for to have an account where that money specifically goes to be deposited as well.
Is there a dollar limit on the amount that goes into that fund?
No, it just grows. It's almost like the rental of town buildings, right? Lease of town buildings. That's not a revolving fund. A couple of them are just rental of buildings, so it's just special revenue.
If I may,
Okay, one last question, so we'll answer this too. This is an account that doesn't have to be approved for free cash, right, at the end of the year, or is it something that just gets rolled over?
No, it just stays. It's special
Stays, so we
revenue.
don't have to ever,
Right.
if it goes in the general fund, it may be.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, the account right now, for instance, for the RMV is at a plus of $2,300. So it's not a lot of money,
No,
but what I would say is, you know, at some point in 3-4 years, you look at it, if there's a good surplus, at that point, you could take some of that money and you could reallocate it back to the town. That's also, yeah, that's also the
It's just
benefit of this
A
account.
mechanism to
Yeah.
account for the revenue.
Yeah.
All set?
right,
Okay, all those in favor? Unanimous of all present. Number 9, review, discuss approval to enter into a contract with Matrix for $18,000 to design and manage the build of a wide area network for municipal buildings using project number 84157. Entertain a motion to recommend to town council for approval and allow the town manager to sign all related documents.
Second.
Very good, Mr. Manager.
Well, we have the Muni Fiber project that we really have to push forward when Victor comes back from vacation. We have this quote, be able to design and manage the build of that network. We have monies allocated in, well, we had the community compact grant to do the feasibility study. We've had that extended because we have the grant for that as well. I said, I think this says $50,000 for the assessment, yes, the $250 grant for the build, and we also have capital monies for the build. So we have about $450,000 to $500,000 for the build of this network. The capital ones, we'll probably stage this so that we have to use we were fortunate enough, the state gave us an extension till the end of December to get this build going. So we're gonna be on a very progressive schedule to get this designed, the RFP, this is to help us do the RFP, get the contractor to do the build. Right, so get this RFP completed, get this out the door, get it bid, get a contract in place, we're coming to town council with the contract, get the contract going, use that compact money first, and then the capital, because capital will stay over time, but we need to get at least that I don't wanna lose that $250,000, so we really have to get on it to get this project going. It will incorporate the town hall, library, new police station, possibly.
New fire station,
No, not the police station. No.
new fire station,
New fire station,
community center.
community center, so.
is that the guy we met at the business partnership?
No,
No.
Who was the kind of?
he was building affordable housing
fiber.
fiber.
Oh, his business was fiber. First company, Verizon, no, T-Mobile.
Yeah.
They use it for T-Mobile or something like that. I don't know.
And I think,
It's fiber.
if I remember, I think the housing authority just got a fiber.
That's what he's asking about
Yeah.
now.
Can this become potentially for residential sales and stuff that's okay?
No, this is strictly municipal.
I don't know right now, but can it be expanded at a future date to include residential of the town?
I do know that people have approached, and that's a separate issue, but there have been talks about different entities coming in to do residential.
So, yeah, if I could just elaborate on that. So we have someone looking at the contract we have with Charter right now to see what we're allowed to encourage and not encourage for other fiber besides that one company that's come into town for the affordable housing units. So the idea of a wide area network, a WAN or a LAN, local area network, if people have heard of those, is that you just have you have a connection to all of those buildings as one unit, right? And so for us, if we're all connected to the server here at Town Hall, it's very important for us to make sure that we are able to be on that same network, right? Without interruption
Right.
from
Makes
others.
sense.
Yeah, it's a smart redundancy.
Any further discussion?
Yes, it's still. It's up.
All those in favor? Opposed, unanimous of all present.
And the only reason that agenda item came here is because Victor's on vacation, but we're trying to move this thing forward. I was involved on the grant end, so it seemed like, let's just keep it moving.
Okay.
I don't really choose to sign up for all these agenda items.
Yeah. But I gotta thank Peg too, because Peg and Victor have worked together, especially with the community compact grant, and she has a great relationship with Sean from the state that been very accommodating to us on extensions of grants and all that, so we thank them for that. But he said the final was December.
Yes,
Your
that's
final
right.
final. Your final.
Item 10, review, discuss approval to apply for an ADA planning grant to update the ADA transition plan for up to $100,000. Entertain a motion to recommend to town council for approval and allow the town manager to sign all related paperwork.
Second.
Okay, you guys are good.
Huh?
Okay, Counselor,
Yeah, so this is to get a planning grant for ADA to all town buildings.
Except the
Except for the
library.
library, because we did the library last year through their grants to help enhance their elevator application. But feedback was we should have a more robust ADA assessment completed of other town buildings to help assist in the grants that we obtain. Sound right?
It is, yes. Our ADA transition plan is from 2009, and we've been just dragging it along for all these applications. What they said was, like Jack said, it would be a much more competitive application if we can update that plan. A whole ADA transition plan would consider not just the buildings, but the parks and the streets. That would cost a lot more. The $100,000 I used as a benchmark based on previous awards for other towns of similar sizes doing ADA plans. Once we get the award, we would shop for that whoever consultant would do it. What Pam, the new library director, and I heard from the ADA grantor is that the other weakness was no matching funds from the elevator grant. So if we're looking at a $300,000 and some odd elevator grant, and it's only a $250,000 award, there's a bit of a funding gap there. So what Pam said is she's confident that the library could make up that gap when they go for the ADA grant. So what we will do as a town is go for the ADA grant for the plan and simultaneously be getting ready for this ADA elevator application, because it takes a ton of preparation before you actually apply. So that's your little foreshadowing. We'll see you back here maybe in November or maybe October for the ADA grant stuff.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous of all present. We did 11, item 12, review, discuss approval to apply for the fiscal year 27 parkland acquisitions and renovations for communities grant program for up to $500,000 to build a chess park at the library. Entertain a motion to recommend to town council for approval and allow the town manager to sign all related paperwork.
So moved.
Second.
I'll let Peg explain this one.
I had two competing interests come to me. I had Mike Cuomo come to me about pickleball and say, you promised me money for the pickleball courts with the park grant. And then I had Mike Purnell remind me that I also talked about money for the park grant for the chess park. Talking out loud with Mike Como and Bernadette Mead at two separate meetings, I think the best use of town funds is go for the chess park with the full $500,000. The library can match the 30% of the park grant. And then pickleball, if it's a genuine interest and not a fad, we can go for as one of the 3 projects through the CDBG funds. But CDBG is, if you're gonna do 3 projects divided up, that's a much smaller number. So I see that as the best use of the different buckets.
I really want to say I don't think it's a fad. I think it's going to be here for a long, long time.
And so if that's the case, we support it. And the conversation I just had with Councilor Lazo was when we go to do the Marcos Rios Memorial Playground, we will make sure to put up the fence between the 2 of you as one first step effort towards contributing towards the pickleball courts. And then when the application's due next spring for CDBG, we could go for funds. Mike Como would like us to go down there and really look at the full picture with the DPW director and the timelines for both the park grant and the CDBG funds pretty much line up simultaneously, so it's not as if you're missing out, really.
Further discussion, Councilor Allen.
Thank you. Just because the council over there is trying to call me out. It's great use for the funds, obviously. I know I was part of, I helped with them a little bit, working with this as far as the chess park, or chess park. I know they, at the time, I think they were estimated about $500,000 just before they even came and brought to your attention or maybe so I think it's a great idea, because there is a lot of interest in it. I do think maybe it's matched with pickleball as far as interest, but I would support the pickleball too as well, whatever we need to do.
It's a private thing between me and Dave.
Ladies? Okay, good. All those in favor? Opposed, unanimous, all present. Item 13, review, discuss acceptance of a donation of $2,000 from the Southbridge Business Partnership for Bernadette Mead to plant flowers in the downtown planters. Entertain a motion to recommend to town council for approval and allow the town manager to sign all related paperwork.
So moved. I think that's great.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so I'll reiterate, I went to the ethics laws and took a look. Again, I do not receive any funds for any of this stuff, so until somebody complains about me talking about this, then I'll continue on. The Southbridge Business Partnership is a little, not redevelopment, but development stage. And one of the things that we want to do is with the money that we do have put away and we're reinvesting in itself and stuff like that, is to make sure that we help not only just the businesses, but not-for-profits and the town, and be good partners with the town, so we can have those deep conversations down the road, with the development of American Optical or other places, the redevelopment authority and all that. So obviously Bernadette came with this request. We couldn't fulfill the entire amount. I think Peg for maybe covering a little bit of that possibly, but at this time, this will give us enough. A lot of towns have DPWs that do this. They have the planters, they're the ones that buy the plants and the flowers, and they put them all together. This town does not have that. And I think we have volunteers that want to work with us out, and we have an account line item now for it, and why not give them money to help them out, better our town, make it look better.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous, all present. Item 14, adjourn. Motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Hey,
All those in
wait a
favor?
minute.